Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Your Money Questions Answered. I'm your host, Elena Peerson Arroyo, Client Engagement Manager at Washington Financial Group. In today's episode, we're going to answer the question, what should I do with my retirement accounts from previous jobs? But first, a quick word from the good folks at Compliance.
The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Global Retirement Partners LLC, a registered investment advisor. Global Retirement Partners, LPL Financial and Washington Financial Group are separate non-affiliated entities.
And now, on to the show. I'm joined today by Charlotte Kanka, Director of Client Services at Washington Financial Group. Hey Charlotte, how's it going?
I'm fine, Elena. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm also joined by Rick Hope, one of our talented retirement plan specialists at Washington Financial Group. Rick, how are you?
Elena, good morning. Charlotte?
Good morning, Rick.
So today's question is, what should I do with my retirement accounts from previous jobs? So I believe that the average American has something like from age 18 to retirement, 12 jobs, that's what I've read, throughout their lifetime, which is pretty crazy. But when you think about, being 18, you have these summer jobs. Some of these end up having retirement plans on them if you're working full-time over the summer. And some people have the ability to accumulate just massive amounts of 401ks, 403bs that are just kind of hanging out there. And I always get the question, what do we do with them? Is it better to leave them separate? Do we consolidate them? So what are some general rules of thumb, and how do we actually go about, making sure that we're keeping track of all of these funds and we're doing the best thing possible for our accounts?
Sure. Well, we recommend one of two options. One is roll your old retirement plans into your current plan. A couple things you'll feel better about having all your money in one place. A lot of times people forget. They worked at some employer X number of years ago, and they forget about that money's there. Mm-hmm. Also, life circumstances change. Somebody dies, something else happens in your life, and you got the wrong beneficiary on that plan.
Oh my goodness!
So I've run across that on a couple of occasions with 401k plan employees. So we recommend that you roll the money into your current plan. The other option is rolling over to an IRA, and maybe you want to buy some things that are different or not in your 401k plan, some individual stocks, things like that. You can do that in an IRA, but either way, don't leave the money in the old plan. Roll it over to your current plan or set up an IRA.
Well, and one of the things that I see a lot of the employees, they leave. And if you have less than $1,000, then eventually it gets cashed out and gets sent to you. Well, are you going to take the time to reinvest that? Or if it's $900, are you going to say, gee, I just as soon pay off my Visa bill this month with it? And then at the end of the year, you realize that you're going to get, taxed on it as income and your 10% penalty and everything else. Yeah. And then the other thing that is really kind of sad is that people move, and they've moved 2 or 3 times. And you might have $20,000 in a retirement plan that you've left behind. You just forget about it. You move 3 times, no forwarding address, and now that money is just sitting there. The employer has the responsibility to try to find you, but if you've left and there's no forwarding address, they may not be able to find you. And if that plan terminates, you might be out that money. And I'm sure everybody could use an additional $20,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good point.
That happens so many times. I can't tell you how many times I have employees call me that are like, hey, I think I have an old account somewhere from 6 years ago when I lived in Virginia, and now I live in Connecticut, and I have no idea what happened to this money. Can you find it for me? And I'm like, I can't find it for you. I'm not you. Right. I can help you get some ideas of where you should call, but ultimately you really want to make sure that you're keeping track of that money. So that's hugely important. Something that Rick touched on about consolidating your accounts is one thing that you're going to lose track of if you don't keep track of your account. If you have any life changes, is your beneficiaries.
Yes,
right?
I thought of that exact same thing.
So I remember when my grandfather passed away, I think he left 8 different retirement accounts just hanging around, and they all had different beneficiaries on them. And he and my grandma were divorced, and so my dad and his 2 sisters had to sort of hash it out and figure out who was getting what, because it was basically completely arbitrary, because he had just selected his beneficiaries at random points of his life, right? So something that you definitely want to keep track of. God forbid you have, something happens to you. But we always joke that if you love your family, you'll keep track of your beneficiaries, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't love your family, then it's fine.
Absolutely.
Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
But just something to be mindful of is making sure you're keeping track of these things.
Yeah.
Especially like I remember when I was 18 years old, I worked for a children's library. And I actually got a 401k because I was working like 40 hours a week, and the minimum age was 18. And I recently found my 401k statement, and my beneficiary on my plan was Andrew Marr. You guys know who Andrew Marr is, right?
No.
Sorry. Okay, well, I don't really either, but I really loved him when I was 18. So hugely important. Andrew Marr, if you're out there, you have
are
a claim
beneficiary
to about $800 of my money. So if you ever get this, you should, something happens to me, you can, no, I'm kidding. I've already removed him. He's long gone.
Dear.
But it's really important
It
things.
is important. It really is.
What are some good rules of thumb, Rick, when it comes to like evaluating whether or not you should move your money into the new plan versus like an IRA?
Well, the things you want to look at are the expenses in the plan. Generally speaking, in today's 401k plan or 403b plan, the expenses are really low. It's hard to invest on the outside and get a cheaper option. So that's one thing you want to look at. Another thing to look at is the types of investment options. And again, most plans today carry a number of different investment options that'll probably have everything you want. Your question was versus an IRA?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, back to this idea, if you want to invest in some individual stocks or some specific type of investment product that's not offered in your 401k, then you want to look at an IRA. There's so many options out there for IRAs. You can set up a really specific IRA. I was looking at something the other day in an IRA for options, trading options. It's out there. You can just look at it. You can come across that stuff.
Right. I guess if you want to do something a little bit more creative, then that always is a good option. But then, of course, from the fee perspective, that's really important too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to make sure that your fees aren't digging into your plan too much. So that's, again, another good reason to keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Just good performance in general. Thank you so much for both being here today.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
I
good to
really
be here.
appreciate it. Folks, if you have a 401k or a 403b or some other account floating around out there, please go find your statements and make sure that you're comfortable where it is and that you're not losing track of it. Feel free, if you have any questions that you'd like to address us in a future episode, or if you need any help with your old 401k, 403b plan, feel free to shoot us an email at info@washfinancial.com. Thanks for listening to Washington Financial Group's Your Money Questions Answered podcast. Connect with us at washfinancial.com. If you enjoy our show, we'd love for you to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you access your podcasts. Until next time.